What's happening, Elevation Nation? Sam and I today are joined by a great guy, someone we've known for quite some time now. And when I say quite some time, probably like 2 months.
Yeah.
But we welcome new elevator, Jonah Brown, to Elevation Nation. And I just have to say, for Elevation Nation, Jonah is an incredible entrepreneur, and he has got some skills with the camera. We'll get into that in just a bit. Jonah, welcome officially to Elevation Nation. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Thank you guys for having me here. It's very exciting.
Dude, we are pumped to have you. Again, the world works in mysterious ways. We love when elevators connect us to other elevators. Our newest elevator and dear friend Travis, who is last week's episode, I believe, introduced us to you, Jonah, and was like, there's this incredibly hungry and ambitious kid. He's an elevator. You guys got to meet him. We hopped on a call, and sure enough, man, you got what it takes. I know that this is just the start of an incredible life for you, and I'm honored that we are welcoming you into the nation. But obviously, Jonah, we know you. We know all about you. Parker alluded at what you do and what your passion is. But for Elevation Nation, to fill them in, can we get a little elevator pitch, man? Who is Jonah Brown?
All right, elevator pitch. I'm a photographer and videographer from Michigan. I've grown up here my whole life. I've always loved film, always loved cameras. And now going a bit more global, I've been traveling a lot in the last few years, doing projects at a higher level with different clients, friends, different passion projects, all sorts of stuff. And I'm just excited to keep exploring, to keep creating. Yeah, it's all a blast. I'm excited for it to keep going.
That's incredible. I mean, I love the fact that you say you're a world traveler. And, it's funny because Sam and I we looked at ourselves as world travelers, right? After college, we traveled to Asia. Sam and I studied abroad together, and we've been all over. And Sam kept bringing up this term, we speak across the world. And we've only spoken in the United States, but even if, no, it's okay. But what I'm saying is if you're traveling from, let's call it New York City to Maryland, that's a different part of the world. You're a world traveler. You're going from Maryland to California. You're a world traveler. That's another part of the world.
Right.
And so, Jonah, what is it about travel that you love so much?
I think it's just that it's like the purest inspiration you can have, at least for me, if I'm walking around the alleyways of Isla Mujeres, Mexico, or climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, or maybe something simple. Not simple, every trip is a trip, but going to New York. You're surrounded by new things, you're surrounded by so many factors, and it is just like a straight shot into getting the creative juices flowing. And I think also, I'm not too afraid to go up to people. So if I'm in a city in the US or in a different country, whether that's, hey, can I take your photo? Or, hey, can you do this for this shot? Sometimes, they don't speak your language. So you just give them you point, you do one of these, and you just go for it. And I think sometimes that can really set yourself apart too, because not everybody's asking and going out of their way. But yeah, travel, I think, just goes so well with photography.
I feel like photography and videography takes people on a journey and brings them into a moment or an experience that you're trying to share. And, it's so hard. Parker and I have traveled the world together, been so grateful to experience so many different cultures and experiences with him. And there are certain moments that will forever stick out in my mind as key core memories of our friendship and of traveling. And if only there was a way to capture those better than my shitty iPhone pictures that I took. What a cool opportunity that you have to bring your nice camera with your skill set, with your knowledge, and with your passion to capture those moments. There's one moment in particular that was probably the most magical moment of all my travels and all my years, which was Parker and our other friend Miles.
Wait, can I tell the story? Can I tell the story?
Sure. Oh. Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this is in Colombia or in Iceland?
This was in Colombia when we saw the
Okay,
rainbow.
all right,
but
fine. You keep
no,
going.
you interrupted me already. Nope, you interrupted me.
I was
going to
say
the
the Iceland where you're sitting on the rock.
That's also
whatever.
a good story. So I guess I wish,
Okay.
my point being, I wish I had video cameras and better cameras for all of this, because it's such a cool way to capture those moments and try to relive to the best of your abilities those experiences. And so I'm really excited to learn from you. I love that you're a global traveler like me and Parker. I cannot wait to hire you to come film all our Elevation Nation events as we continue to go global. And I know this is just the beginning for you, man. And so I'm excited to chat more about it. When it comes to photography and then videography, I'm curious. What do you like about each of those, and what do you not like about each of those? Obviously, people tie them together, but you are both a videographer and a photographer. Talk to me about the differences there.
A hybrid shooter, and it wasn't always that
Hey,
way.
Jonah, real quick.
Yeah.
Jonah, real quick. Is there a way that you could, like, are you in, like, a room with someone else? I just want to make sure that we're getting a little bit of...
really loud on the phone. You want me to tell them to be quiet?
Yeah, we can hear it. I'm just like...
Okay. Are you able to, like,
it'll
pause the recording?
probably, like, get, like our,
Well, it's
our
like,
software will
it's like
get rid of it.
distracting me, too, from talking. So I can,
Hey, roommate,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up.
You
No,
like it?
we'll keep going. I'll cut this out.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. All right, so Sam, let's have a little side banter here.
Bro, I thought that was an echo of me, and then I was like, wait, what is that echo saying? I didn't realize it was someone different.
His microphone is so good.
So
that
good,
It's
yeah.
like
No,
picking up everything. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, maybe we should
Just tell
should
him to
get
go
these
into the
mics.
bathroom or something. We were saying, Jonah, that's like a really good microphone because it's picking up everything.
When you had me do my elevator pitch, I could hear it, and it started then I started thinking about that, and I feel like it kind of derailed my elevator pitch a little bit. 'Cause I was kind of out of body.
You're
I was,
chilling, bro.
A little
All right,
distracted.
So funny.
Well, let's pick it up. I'm going to clap. Hopefully we have no problems with sound or hearing each other now, but Sam's
Okay.
question was around video and photography.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm very much a hybrid shooter when it comes to video and photo, and it wasn't always that way. The origins of kind of my, I guess, creative side are that I've always been drawn to cameras and making videos. Specifically videos kind of with whatever camera I had at every age, and then finally graduated high school in 2020. Bought my first camera that summer right before college, and I bought like a hybrid camera, but I wasn't really shooting many photos until maybe 6 months later. So I always say I really started photography in 2021. And now, I do, photography just as much as video, vice versa. Probably honestly more photo just because it's a lot easier to shoot one picture than make a whole video. But, I think what I love about photography is that it is so individualistic often that, like, if you take a good photo, it's a good photo, right? Whereas if you take a good clip, it's not a good video necessarily. And those, there's positives to both of those sides where it's like, yeah, the photo can really only speak for itself, whereas the video, you can have a clip, and then depending on your skill set and your knowledge and your creativity, you can completely manipulate emotions and tones and story by using music and sound and editing or effects. And it's pretty much limitless when it comes to editing. But then, to counter that with photography, when you start looking into different mediums like maybe a physical or online gallery or a little zine or like a coffee table book, then it's not photos speaking for themselves. It's specific photos together that are working in collaboration to, relive a time or a place or to, give some sort of emotional or, you know what I mean? So, and then as far as video, what I don't like is like picking songs for edits is the worst thing ever. For my personal edits, it's fun because I just use anything from my library of like what I actually listen to. When you're doing client stuff, you're usually limited because you got to use like licensed music, and there's never been a good licensed song ever, realistically. And so, you got to work with that. And sometimes when all you want to do is get started on the edit, but then you have to spend 2 hours searching for a song, it's just like, not the most fun thing.
I think that was a good articulation of the differences between them. And, I feel like almost photography can ground you or bring you back to what's simple. And, you know, even as I compare this to Parker and I's creative medium of, you know, workshops, public speaking, and podcasting, I think if ever Parker and I are feeling overwhelmed or overrun, coming back to just a conversation, a simple conversation in front of a microphone, not caring about what TikTok clips we get from it or what we were going to ask, but just going with the flow of a conversation at least grounds me. And so I feel like there are some similarities in bringing it and stripping it back down to its most simple form that kind of reminds us why we got into this creative medium in the first place.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that's part of why I've fallen so in love with photography specifically outside of video. You know, I was always video first. And so photo sometimes feels like more personal, like kind of what you're saying. Like I was just in Mexico 2 weeks ago, and you know, I rented a bicycle for like $15, 24 hours. I start riding the bike just by myself, like left my little brother and his buddies at the hotel. They're doing their thing. And I'm like riding through this island, so it's like pretty local, and I can hear like cheering, and there's like a baseball stadium. So I walk in, there's like, you know, two like high school aged Mexican baseball teams going off against each other, and there's just like, you know, 30 Mexican dudes and like a dude serving beer out of little barrels, and then me, like, you know, this white kid with a camera. And what's cool about not being in the U.S. is like the U.S. can be so, like, there's so many rules and everything's like so, but whereas sometimes in other countries things can be so casual, because at the end of the day, like, what harm is it for me to be in there or to have my camera? And they're like, yeah, go on the field, go on the field. I jump on the field. I'm taking photos of this team. They win the championship. The whole team gathers around me like I'm their team photographer. And I'm just like taking pictures of them. And I ended up sending them to them. But like,
Let's go.
I never would have had that little experience if I hadn't just wandered off with my camera. And
Dude,
it's like the most amazing feeling.
That's a cool story. That's awesome.
Fun.
I mean,
It was fun.
It's almost like you have. And I always thought of, like, you know, me taking pictures on my phone is like my journal, in a sense, of like where I'm going throughout my like life and whatnot. Obviously the podcast has become like an audio journal for Sam and I, but like I imagine for you, the way you are journaling is through your photography and your video. And like, I can't imagine how cool that must have felt for the other guys too, who got their picture taken, and they were like, "Oh my god, a photographer's here!" And they probably thought you were a pro of some sort. Like, I mean, you are a pro, but like, they probably were like, "Damn, the newspaper's here" or something.
Right. And I think it's funny when like you receive photos in that sort of situation, and they're like way better than they should have been, or way better than you would have expected, you know. And you know, I think for these kids were not even expecting to have a photographer at this baseball game, let alone like, you know, maybe some phone pictures or whatever. But I was out there with like a long lens, like taking like some bangers, to be honest. And
they'll have those forever now.
Exactly.
And you're saying if no one was taking
pictures,
pictures,
that with them. Yeah,
they'll have that forever.
Totally.
I think I love that we're just talking about travel, because this is just incredible. But I think having something that you can share with other people is so powerful on your journeys. And, you know, if, you know, for Elevation Nation that's listening, if you maybe are not as skilled of a photographer as Jonah, or maybe don't have something to offer, you can always offer like a smile and conversation with people. Jonah, to your point of going outside the US and realizing how welcoming and inviting other cultures are to learn, to grow, to explore together. It actually, like, when you come back to the U.S., you're like, why is everyone so rigid and cold and it's uncomfortable? Because
you live in D.C.
You live in New York, bro. You're way worse. It's just beautiful, right? And I think that's just so cool that you're able to have those experiences. Parker and I have a couple. I'll tell you one quick one that sticks out. So Parker and I, post-graduation from Maryland, we book a trip with two of our buddies to just backpack Asia, right? First stop, land in Shanghai. Obviously, maybe not obviously, Parker and I don't speak Mandarin, in case you didn't know. So we're going in, have no idea what to expect. We're walking around our first hour there. This old man with no teeth, comes up to us, looks at us, and is like, American? And we're like, yes. And he's like, do you know LeBron James? And we were like,
oh my gosh.
yeah. And he's like, what about Stephen Curry? And we were like, yeah. And he was like, wow. And just walked away. I was like,
It was almost like we were.
Yeah.
The way I look at that situation now is like we're completely in a simulation, and that guy was sent by the simulation to just say, do you know LeBron James? Do you know Steph Curry? Yeah, we do. Oh, that's great. And walked away. It was like your classic NPC.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
thank you for giving us entertainment literally 60 minutes while we're freaking out in another country across the entire world. But to that point, I think I know where Sam's going is like we're capturing life in a whole nother world over there. And we're seeing a different culture. And we were filming a lot of our experience on a GoPro. And
that's cool.
Sam knows this. Like, I put all of our travel videos together and made like a little like 30-minute montage of our trip. And you know what is amazing about that? And I took it for granted then is that like we'll have that forever. And I'm sure through video and photography and like your clients that you work with, but for you and your friends, it's like we're capturing moments in time. And the way we capture moments in time is through storytelling, by word of mouth, by playing music, by recording, by photography and videography or writing. And I think what's so incredible is that you're so committed to that craft and you also want to build your life around that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. Like, you know, I'm always the friend that's supplying people with the photos and the videos. And I always say that, like, the best souvenir for me on a trip is just the photos that I get. And, yeah, you're so right. Like, you know, whether it's on a GoPro or a phone or a real camera, like a, you know, mirrorless camera like I have, like, the best camera is the one that you have. And at the end of the day, like, you have these memories that are just, like, priceless. And I think, like, it kind of ties into how I feel about video and photo in general is that, like, you know, you really have to leave room for the personal work or the things you enjoy. At least I do.
Yeah.
And I even say that on my website. I mentioned that, you know, I like to work in the commercial. I say, like, I do personal and client work because I think that's so important. And, like, you know, I as I've shared with you guys before, I made a short film every year of college that kind of told the story of college, but in a bit creative, exaggerated way. And you don't make any money from those videos, clearly. But first of all, you save all these memories together in such, like, a fun way. But then also, like, those can be the videos that leave impressions on people. So when they're like, yeah, I need a video for my business, they're like, oh, remember that video? That was cool and that was well made. Like, I can hit him up.
Well, Jonah, you beat me to it because that was exactly where I wanted to go next, which was Parker mentioned that these videos capture journeys and moments in time. And to your point, you had an incredible idea of capturing each year of college into a video. And to your point, one of those stood out to me, to Parker, and to other elevators and clients, which is your senior year video. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to talk about that, and it's a perfect segue into that video because not only is it beautiful, we'll link to it in the show notes, a beautiful storytelling piece, I think it hits on a lot of the fears that Parker and I have, and what inspired Elevation Nation when we graduated senior year, went out into the real world and felt extremely lost and scared that time was slipping away, that we had no sense of direction. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. Can you, without giving too much away, because we'll have people watch it, can you kind of explain the premise of the video and the kind of thread and theme throughout it?
Yeah, so for this senior year one, I remember the summer before the senior year even started, I was like, I'm going to make this one a lot longer than the previous ones. And originally my idea was to do like every month would be segmented, but then I was like, that's way too long, so I'll just do the seasons. And I couldn't pick like 9 songs, so I was like, just doing the seasons would be.
And this is a personal project or a school project?
Yeah, this is completely personal. I didn't take any film classes. I was a business student, so I just did this for myself. It was my like
Amazing.
unofficial second major, I always said. And so
Probably
yeah, I
learned
said like,
more in your second major than maybe your first.
yeah, oh
Sorry.
yeah, probably. But so that was my idea for it. And there's this famous movie called The Seventh Seal. I believe it's from 1959 or 57 maybe. It's a black and white like classic, and it's about this soldier who's playing chess against death after dying in battle. And then he kind of relooks at a lot of things. And so I was like, oh, that'd be so fun to play with. But instead of death, instead of a soldier, I could be like a graduate playing against time. And we reference our elevator from last week, Travis Stoliker, who is my mentor and a close friend of mine in the Lansing area. I got him to play Father Time because I knew he'd be down. He says yes to everything. And that was so awesome. So it was a fun project that I just, I wasn't working on it every day, but every few weeks or, once a month, I was, okay, what do I need to do in this period of time or this season to make sure that I'm collecting what I need in order to edit this at the end. And it all came together, and I'm super grateful for that video. And it was just a blast to kind of finish off that series, but also like finish off college as an actual thing. So, yeah.
So we had this conversation today, Sam, on our Fortitude in 15. When we're recording this Fortitude in 15 is December 5th. This episode's going to be released until the new year. But look back on that episode, Elevation Nation, because Sam and I were talking about something in particular. It's like, Jonah, like you were putting together that video not for a class, not for a grade, not for money. It was purely, I assume, because of your passion.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And you wanted to memorialize your experience as a college student and put together a project, a piece of art that you didn't give a shit if it made $1 or if 1,000,000
Right.
people saw it. You were caring about you and your craft. And what we talked about on this episode this week on December 5th in Fortune 15 is that Sam and I, in our first business, always led with that idea of money and growth and scaling. And when we flipped the switch and we said with Elevation Nation, we're not going to care about that. We're just going to care about our passion. And that's meeting people like yourself and sharing the stories of how young people are elevating their mental fortitude to conquer the real world. That is the most fulfilling piece. And what's amazing is the money will come. And I know,
Exactly.
you
That's what
put
I
the
was gonna
time and the
say.
effort
Yeah.
in and the passion and the joy, and now the money's coming your way. So you're a perfect example of this hypothesis that Sam and I have been living at least for the last 5-6 years now.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's amazing. It's actually so funny. I feel like so many things are converging here. We've talked about, graduating and these passion projects and kind of the post, you could talk about how weird it is to graduate college and then like meeting you guys and you guys knowing Travis. It's funny because after graduating, I was really happy with that video. I was very satisfied with my college experience, but I was also ready to move on. I went and traveled all summer, filming for a safari company. It's from my hometown out in Kenya and Tanzania, which was crazy, and I can get into that a bit later. And then I came home and was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like all the post-grad, the wave of build-up of all these feelings and worries and doubts finally hit me. And it truly feels like I wasn't myself for a few months, which I understand is pretty normal to feel after all that. But it's so funny because if I could like pinpoint one point in time, which I feel like things started to change, it was November, 100%. This last month feels completely different than, I felt in July through October, because there were times where I was like, I'm never touching a camera again. I'm gonna go be a dentist or something, And I'm sure you guys have been there where you're just like the imposter syndrome or the stress or whatever takes over and like, oh no, I'm done. Like, and I was literally like, oh, I'm gonna go be a dentist. And then, some other things started to turn around. And then I fly out to Maryland to film this project with your brother Parker, which is again, the worlds colliding. And it was like being there and not only the opportunity of like, yeah, I'm getting to fly out to do this client project, but getting the shots and immediately being like, that was such a good shot. And I know it. It was just like, that was like the final, like not even nail in the coffin. That was like the final crowbar to open the coffin, if that makes sense. And ever since then, like this last month has been nice because I'm like, yeah, I'm not drowning, and post grad is okay, and I think it's only going to get better, and I'm feeling just really confident and excited about work. So it's kind of cool that that all happened and funneled together and into that opportunity too.
Well, first of all, I'm going to elevate you right now. I mean, I know when we first talked about the project, I was like, you're the perfect person for it. I've seen your work. It's incredible. Then now seeing the work now, it's incredible. Sam will be right back.
Yeah,
I know he will.
good.
And I think what's even incredible too, a lot of incredibles here, is that you're creating your art. Photography and videography is an art. And so is podcasting, right? Mm-hmm. And what, when we think about imposter syndrome, right? The reason why we get imposter syndrome is because we feel that we're the new kid on the block. What do we know? But in the art of podcasting and the art of storytelling through a camera or video is all that matters is that it's your art and your perspective and your vision. And if you keep leaning into that, you're going to put amazing things out into the world if you continue to stay inspired and push into your own interest. And it's not necessarily up to us to say we're good or bad or not. It's up to others to interpret that the way they want to interpret it, as long as we continue to keep fueling our passion, which is, in our case, podcasting, your case, video and photography. And I think, to your point, look, man, it's starting to make you money. And I think you can build a very successful career off of your incredible talent and passion. What's up, Sam? Welcome back.
Thank you. I think, obviously, I agree with all that. But, Jonah, just so you know, one of the coolest things for Parker and I, beyond the podcast, beyond the fact that we're now speaking around the world and United States, mostly. The coolest thing for us, at least for me, in the past year, has been helping some of the elevators that are your age with entrepreneurial passions, help like mentor them. And I remember when I was about your age, one of the goals that I had when Parker and I started Elevation Nation was this phrase that I heard that just resonated with me so much, which was, at all points in your life, you should be mentored and you should be a mentor. And I love that because there's always someone like Travis in your life and hopefully now ours that's a mentor that can give us that advice. But you always want to share some of the wisdom and the struggles that you've gone through. And it's one of the reasons we started this podcast, was to share how much we struggled in that weird, awkward phase post-grad. And so obviously this is us welcoming you to the nation. We've already kind of made some intros with Parker's brother and Pup Scouts. And what I'm most excited about, man, is you obviously jive with us. You fit into this elevator mindset that we are so very passionate about. And I'm looking forward to continuing to grow our friendship, helping you through certainly the highs, but the lows that are inevitable in being an entrepreneur and starting your own thing, and hopefully building that friendship like we've done with so many other elevators like Sammy Gomez, who you've met, who's an incredible graphic designer and web designer who I talk to probably every week to talk through ideas and concepts and help her, and so many others. Like, that to me has been the most fulfilling thing. So you can't measure that in money, but you can measure that in the relationships you've built and the mentorships that we have. And so that's why I'm so excited that we're finally getting you into the nation, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, you guys are great, and it's been really cool to see, what you're doing. And I think, you spoke about mentorship and being mentors yourself. I think, I completely agree. It's such an important thing to anybody, let alone someone maybe who's doing things like their own way or doing something like off the beaten path. And it's one of those things, like, you can never really repay your mentor, but the best thing you can do is, pay that forward by, like you said, being a mentor yourself. So I always think about that. Like, I'd say my original mentor is this guy, Teddy Giard, who maybe you guys could throw him in the nation. He is awesome. I'll connect you to him. But Teddy was like the guy that I saw on TikTok making cool videos. He was like 5 years older than me when I graduated. And I was like, hey, dude, which camera do I buy? And, I would just bounce things off of him forever. And I knew that I could never really pay that back. But then, I got to school, and, by the time I was a junior and senior, there were freshmen and sophomores who were into video stuff, and who I could, give them advice or feedback, or, give them opportunities. And then usually they were helping me out and teaching me things and having a good time with me. So I could not agree more that is just crucial.
We all try to pay it forward, right? All we can do is, continue the elevating and passing that on, this concept of mental fortitude that we preach at Elevation Nation, that you certainly have, knowing who you are, your vision of what you want and what fuels you. Like, if we can help other people grasp that concept of mental fortitude, we're doing our job here.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really important.
So now that you're fully graduated, you are just kind of living that life post-college, getting used to not waking up on college campus or near college campus, going to class. And
Right.
what is your mindset now going forward as you approach each day?
Yeah, it definitely feels different. It's like I have to grow up a little bit, and I think that's part of this, like, me coming out of this weird cocoon I was in. I feel like I haven't really explained it in this conversation, at least to those listening, like how the last few years have been for me. So I'll try to be quick. Went to Michigan State for 4 years, studied business marketing, had a great time. And luckily, I had started this when I bought the camera right before college. Luckily, the only job I've really had to have in college was freelancing. But, the freelancing in college as a student who just needs to pay for groceries and beer and whatever they want is a lot different than freelancing as someone who, has like adult things to pay for. So now it's about, like scaling it and making sure that what I'm creating is higher quality and worth more, and that the people I'm working with is higher quality or more sought after. So I think it's just like holding myself to a standard of like both professional and like adult, like maturity. I'm not a college student anymore, so I gotta start reminding myself that, and really treat myself as a like true professional now. So
As you should. I mean, you are.
thank you.
Well, I'm sure also it's, there's days that are good. There's days that are shitty.
100%. There always
And
will be.
there's always will be. I like to say now is I don't really necessarily believe in what I just said about good days and bad days, because I don't believe that we just have good days. I don't believe that we just have bad days. We have good moments and bad moments and a lot of other moments in between within a given day. And that makes up a full day. And that is at least what I'm striving for, is waking up knowing that challenging things are going to come. Maybe good things come too. But I want to go to bed every night knowing that it was a full day, because challenges are not necessarily a bad thing. We think they might be. They're fearful. We go like, whoa, I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
But sometimes that fear and that challenge gets us to where we want to go or need to go, but we need to step forward and actually approach that thing.
Yeah, I think that like optimism, appreciation, and gratitude are unbelievably powerful, and a lot of people like don't fully take advantage of that. Just appreciating like everything, which is so cliche to say. Like, yeah, of course appreciate things, but it's like seriously, like
we're
goes a
human.
long
It's
way.
hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to appreciate everything.
Yeah.
It's just we're like on to the next thing, and we're doing this, or like we forget that we are having a conversation and we're in 3 different parts of the world all together. Like we've done 365 of these.
That's
Have I
insane.
taken them for granted? Yeah, some of them, of course. But like the fact that we're able to do this is incredible. No human before like 10 years ago was able to do this.
Right. And that's a great
Yeah, like it's insane.
When it becomes routine, we take it for granted. And sometimes we need something like travel to shake up our minds, get us out of a routine, and have us appreciate what we have and what we want and where we're headed. And so I love that. Jonah, I want to move us to our rapid fire segment. We got a couple quick hitting questions that we want to throw at you. The first one being, we know you love to travel. We love to travel. You've shot some pretty incredible places already. Is there a dream place that you want to go take photos and video at? Where are we going next, man? If money wasn't an issue, where are we headed?
Well, my dream for a while has been Southeast Asia, but I bought the flight, so I'm heading there in January.
Great, Parker, and I'll give you all your recommendations.
I'll
We
take
went
'em.
together. We
Where
can't
are you
wait.
going?
I'm starting in Thailand, and
Perfect.
I want to hit
going.
it all. I just want to swim with whale sharks in Indonesia by the end of it. But the Lions might win the Super Bowl, so I might have to come home. We'll see. We'll see. We got time. But I'd say besides the places I've booked, next would be like Iceland, Japan, Peru, maybe. Those three
Wow.
would be like high up there.
Iceland
I
is
love it.
very different in June than it is in January. Sam and I went in February, and it was freezing, but it is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous that you're going to Southeast Asia. I mean, that place.
I'm really
there's just
excited.
so many different cultures and countries that you can just immerse and have incredible eye-opening experiences with.
Did you say this episode was going to come out in the new year?
Yeah, I think.
So I'll probably be there when this
Amazing.
Let's go.
I love it.
Which is
Hey,
cool.
future Jonah, listening somewhere in Southeast Asia. Hope you're
What's
having fun,
going
man.
on?
Hope you're having a good time and that you haven't gotten robbed or
Yeah.
any camera gear stolen.
Just
and
gotta
let's hope that
be
the
smart.
Lions are like.
And my one piece of advice for you is
Yeah.
don't think that you're bigger than the world and can eat literally anything off the street. It will come back to bite you.
Yeah.
Sam and I went a full trip eating anything, and it came back to bite me on the second to last day of our travels. And it was terrible. And if
Yeah,
you know
I've been there.
Montezuma's Revenge, or whatever they call it,
Yep.
not fun. Bali belly, not fun.
Oh God, no. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I need to remind myself that, honestly, because I've done the same thing.
Exactly. All right. Next question for you, Jonah. I remember growing up, my mom for my birthday in like 4th grade got me this like blue camcorder that I like recorded. It was like my first camera, and it was so incredible. I'm curious, like, what was your first camera or video camera that got you like really into it as a kid?
I don't remember, honestly. It had to have been like my dad's camcorder or something, but I don't like have any memory of using that. The earliest things I remember using are, I think, just our parents' phones, like the iPhone like 4.
Yeah.
So I was really young, and then I had the 3DS, and the 3DS had like 2 cameras on the back, and it had a built-in stop motion feature. So you just like hit the trigger, picture. And so what I would do is I'd take my toys, like take the, I'd do the stop motion movies with my toys. I'd take pictures, move it a little bit, take a picture, move it a little bit, and that was like the coolest thing ever. And then I found Wes Anderson movies shortly after that, and like Wallace and Gromit, and I was like, this is sick.
That's
Hell
It was
yeah.
just, like,
incredible.
It was like at every stage of life, whatever camera I could get my hands on is what I did. Because I didn't, like I said, I
Okay.
didn't have a camera until after high school, so it took a while. But yeah, whatever I could use, I used.
I don't want to call out like older people, people over the age of like 50, but it's funny going back into like your home videos and you see your parents like so excited with the camcorder, like, hey, we're recording Sam's 2nd birthday. Everyone say hi to the camera.
Yeah.
Everyone's hi. Like now, could you imagine like you walking around a room like everyone say hi to the camera for future Sam?
That's such a. I actually haven't thought about that, and that's such like a good point. That like, yeah, no one's
so
excited
new.
about it anymore because it's so normal. And
Yeah.
now it'd be like a bigger announcement to say like, hey, I'm not recording this. Everyone else is.
I was about to say it's more the communication piece that's interesting. It was the biggest deal in the room, and you almost announced to everyone so that they knew they were being recorded. Now consent is implied. We don't care. Like we just record everything. It's such an interesting societal shift.
Nothing is sacred, right?
Nothing. Yeah. Right. All right. Last question. We typically ask for book recommendations, but for you, Jonah, we want to ask a movie recommendation. Do you have a cool movie that you think Parker and I and Elevation Nation have to watch that maybe is under the radar?
Under the radar.
Or on the radar, whatever you want. If you got a favorite.
I've always loved the movie Arrival. If you guys have seen that, it came out in 2016.
No.
I love that movie so much. And As far as like travel and photography, Secret Life of Walter Mitty is pretty spot on. I share that love for that movie with a few photographer friends. Let me think. I really like The Fabelmans by Steven Spielberg. You guys know Spielberg, obviously. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Did you know about The Fabelmans? Did you hear about this movie?
No.
It came out 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and it's about Spielberg's life, his childhood. And so he literally made like the most expensive passion project ever made, and it's fantastic. Like it's so like he even has a scene in the movie where like young him, who his name is Sammy Fabelman, like Fable Man, you know, whatever, and it's like literally a scene of him like back talking to his bully in the high school like hallway and saying like no one's ever gonna find out about it unless I make a movie or something, and it's just like it's so awesome.
Well
And
written.
I think that movie, like it's not under the radar because it's Spielberg, but it is so monumental because it's like, you know, that guy is another level. And, you know, he started when editing wasn't just an app that anyone could download on the device that everyone had. It was like you had this actual device, you know, you're cutting the film, and I would say that one, actually. So I'm glad you made me think. And
There you go.
I'm going to
glad you reminded me
download
of
that and watch it this weekend. It sounds right up my alley.
It's
And-
good. Can I give a book recommendation, though, as well?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay,
Of
so I would
course.
say, because I like got back into reading the last like 2 years, and that's been amazing. So I would say the two that I recommend, one is called Barbarian Days by William Finnegan, and this guy basically surfed and traveled for 60 years straight from like age 5 to like age 60 something, and the two things that stayed constant in his life were surf and travel, and he writes his entire life into this book. That's really good.
Wow.
And then Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I'm sure you guys have read it. It's so good. It's just so good. So I love those books. I like memoirs a lot.
Are you surfing out in Michigan? Is that what
No,
inspired you?
like I would like to, but there's like specific spots. A lot of the surfing's up in Lake Superior, and it's like freezing cold and way up north. But I think it'd be really, really fun to do that.
That's
You
incredible.
got to read. Do you like? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about. I mean, have you read Unbroken?
No, I've heard about it though.
That they made a movie about it, but doesn't live
Right,
up to the
Soldier?
hype. Yeah, he's like an Olympic runner who gets drafted to the war. Did you read it, Sam?
I did.
Talk about
crazy.
a memoir or a story about someone's life, and you're like, how is this not like? How is this real? This actually happened. That book is nuts. Page turner for sure. One of my favorites. All right, Jonah. Well, we're getting to the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
We do ask every single elevator who joins Elevation Nation one question in particular. It's the thing that binds us all together as elevators. We all have something we call a mental motto.
Yeah.
That is a phrase, a quote, a slogan that you live your life by. It's the thing that reminds you of your mental fortitude to elevate in the real world. And so we're curious, what's your mental motto?
Okay, I've got like 2 or 3 at the moment, but I'll at least start with my like main one. I heard this about 2 years ago, and it lined up with a lot of stuff in my life. But the quote is, "You will never experience everything, so do poetical justice to your soul and simply experience yourself." And that's from Albert Camus. And the reason I love that quote is because I'm someone who tries to do everything. I try to go everywhere. I try to go to every hangout or every event. I try to be friends with like too many people. I try to make too many videos or photos, and you know, at the end of the day, everything in life is quality over quantity. And I think that quote summarizes it in such a beautiful way, because it's like, yeah, I will never get to know what it's like to go to school at a different college or to maybe live in every city in the U.S. I can never do everything. I can't. But like, I get to live life as me, you know? And so I got to like fully accept that. And instead of trying to be all over the place, just, yeah, do justice to my soul, experience myself.
That's beautiful, my friend. I think certainly a lesson all of us can take, and I'm really grateful we got to meet you. What an incredible winding road for this introduction, but I'm so excited to welcome you into the nation. have you in our community, have you as a mentee of ours, and Parker and I are here to help elevate you throughout your career however we can. And as we like to say, this is just the beginning. So, Jonah, welcome to Elevation Nation. We are so honored to have you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to start creating some good stuff for you guys as well as the fellow elevators. It's a great community to be a part of. I'm lucky, grateful, and very appreciative.
Hell yeah. Well, Sammy?
Until next week, Elevation Nation. Peace.